white supremacy in the US military, at least one senator, he seems to be cool with it. Let's put his picture up full mast. All right? He looks like a guy that would be cool with white supremacy in the military. Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville doesn't think white supremacy in the military is really an issue. When posed the question if he believed white nationalists should be allowed to serve in the military, this senator said, in referring to the Biden administration, they call them that, I call them Americans. Senator, I gotta hand it to you, sir. Hey, at least I know where you stand. You understand? I know where you stand. I'm not going to be confused by the policies you support because I know exactly where you stand. I need you to call all of your racist ass members of Congress and encourage them to do exactly what you have done. To be bold about your racism rather than cloaked. US Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama said there should be no efforts, none, to block different ideological groups. So he is saying racism is just an ideology, okay? Including white nationalists from serving in the military, and criticized President Joe Biden for taking steps to remove them, even as concerns about extremism in the military dates back to the Trump administration. So before I go to what he said in an interview, let's get this straight. He believes racism is an ideology, a political ideology by extension. But we know racism is a great evil. At least that's how good and decent men and women have always contextualized the dynamic. So now you have a US Senator who is adversarial to the teachings of Dr. King. You have a US Senator who's completely adversarial to the idea of a race diverse culture where fairness and equity is on the agenda. You see, to him, being racist is just a difference of opinion and should not have any burden on how you do your job. The problem is racism is so extreme that it forces you to engage through the prism of bias. Military, that's interesting, sir. You realize that if they're racist, they are racist against other members of the military, and they are racist against the individuals that they may have to engage with overseas. Does this sound like a good recipe to you, Senator? There's more. So in the interview, here's what he said. Let's put it up. We are losing in the military so fast, Tuberville told WBHM. Our readiness in terms of recruitment, and why? I'll tell you why. Because the Democrats are attacking our military, saying we need to get out the white extremists and white nationalists, people that don't believe in our agenda as Joe Biden's agenda. They're destroying it. This year, we will not reach any recruiting goals in the military. So if we want to talk about looking weak, that's where we're going to look weak. The irony of it all. So you had your massive decrease starting actually under the presidency of Donald Trump, and talk to those who were in the US military while Trump was president and how they basically had to figure out to make sure this guy did not destroy the rest of the world. I mean, literally ignoring him. I'm talking about top brass, stopping Donald Trump and his more wicked urges as it relates to using the military. So let's go to the statement that his office issued. So we heard what Tuberville said, right? Let's go to the statement. Senator Tuberville's quote that is cited shows that he was being skeptical of the notion that there are white nationalists in the military. And not that he believes they should be in the military. The statement from a spokesperson said, we're so thankful you cleared that up. He believes the men and women in uniform are patriots. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin seems to think otherwise, subjecting them to extremism training as his very first act in office. The cost, that cost us 4 million man hours. Man hours, y'all kill people. Literally, and sometimes you kill the wrong person. And you're complaining about man hours for training. it is interesting how the spin works here, right? Oh, he wasn't saying, no. He didn't say he was okay with white nationalists. That was a slip of the tongue. He was saying, what white nationalists? See, that's better. He just thinks none exist, which makes him delusional. Much better. All right, put him up, Pentagon. All right, the Pentagon report released in October 2020 describes extremism as a threat to the military with concerns of violence and endangered morale. So Gary Reed, that's him, the director of Defense for Intelligence and Counterintelligence, said in the press release, and I quote, "We are doing everything we can to eliminate extremism in the Department of Defense." He continues, "DoD policy expressly prohibits military personnel from actively advocating supremacist, extremist, or criminal gang doctrine, ideology, or causes." But the US Senator says it's all good. Meanwhile, Representative Mike Waltz is set to introduce the Warrior Act today, a bill that will combat the US military's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and end instruction of critical race theory at service academies. You see, it's called the 1-2 combination here. Under the Biden administration, the Pentagon has diverted its focus from lethality and have instead pushed initiatives that have politicized our warfighting ranks and harmed our military readiness. Our military faces the worst recruiting crisis since the Vietnam War because young Americans don't want to join what was once a trusted institution that has become overly politicized and hyper-focused on DEI initiatives. Walt's bill would prohibit appropriated funds from going to any military investigations of potential extremists. There you go. Let's eliminate the department that investigates extremists because we want people we train to kill others to be vetted, right? That's why we have it there in the first place. You want to eliminate the budget in order to make a political point. You want to eliminate the budget that keeps us safe. You want the American government to train people to kill and to create explosives and to get top secret clearance without being vetted or investigated beforehand. You're a coward. Who would make such a decision? You would make a decision like that for your own company, but you want the American government to make that decision because of your politics. It's a damn shame. Jeff, thoughts here?
He said, this country is for all of us and we're all the same. It doesn't make any difference if you're rich, poor, black, white. Everybody's an American, has opportunity to make this country better. And this was after a big rant about what Democrats are doing. So everybody, except for the Democrats. And yeah, let's go back to what his office claimed. They were being his PR department and trying to clear up what he meant. He knows that white nationalists are in the military. He wants white nationalists in the military, and he's okay with them being in the military. He sees them as a fighting force for good, his good, not the Democrats' good or anybody else's good, his good, and what his ideology speaks for this country. So thank you, PR department, I guess, for exposing who not only he is, but who you are as well. We know who both of you are now.
There you go.